Chapter 1728. However, right at this moment, the deans and a few instructors of the various branches rushed in hurriedly. College Chief Meng, something happened. Meng Baichuan's eyebrows twitched. He was already so busy that he couldn't leave, and something still happened. What happened this time? Hearing Meng Baichuan's question, the tutors who had come with him started talking before the college chiefs could say anything. The college ran out of spirit herbs to refine pills. I went to the nearest Tianluo city and Kangyun city to buy them, but all the shops seemed to have an agreement. None of them sold us the spirit herbs. It's the same here. The public classes these days are about teaching students how to forge weapons, but I don't even have the most basic materials. Also, the shop owner refused to sell us the batch of alchemy furnaces that we ordered. Students need large amounts of basic spirit replenishing pills and qi replenishing pills every day. Although they are the lowest level pills, they are indispensable, and the daily demand is huge. We used to order these pills in bulk from a 1,000-year-old shop in Tianluo City. But now, the shop is not willing to sell to us. If I don't have these pills, how can I cultivate? Hearing their chatter, Meng Baichuan's head hurt at first. But as he listened, he was shocked and angry. Why are these shops not willing to sell to us? We don't know either. We asked the shopkeepers and shop owners, but they all stuttered and looked terrified. If we asked more, they would turn around and leave. We can't rob them, right? It's not just buying things. The natural treasures obtained by our Starry School students were originally sold to a big shop in Tianluo City, but now, even the shop is not willing to accept them. We can't put all the entry and exit points in Tianguang ruins, right? How can we do that? Not to mention that our level is not high enough, the storage space of the Jade Key is not that big. Just the processing fees from Tianguang ruins will cost us a lot of money. What's going on? Starry School has been established for thousands of years and has always been on good terms with the shops in the surrounding towns. This has never happened before. Meng Baichuan was also puzzled. But as the dean, he couldn't allow himself to be careless, so he immediately said, "Don't panic, wait for me to go to Heaven Luo City to find out more information. You don't have to go ask around." Jiang Taihong's voice suddenly came from the door. "Let me tell you why." Everyone in the hall turned to look at the door. Meng Baichuan frowned and said, "Vice President Jiang, do you know something?" Jiang Taihong gnashed his teeth in anger when he heard the words Vice Dean. However, when he thought about how Meng Baichuan would definitely lose his position as dean after this matter, he revealed a carefree smile. "It's all your junior martial sister Ning Yaoguang's good student who offended the Tian family. Now, the leader of the Tian clan is enraged and has committed suicide against the Starry School. You should all be very clear on how large the Tian family's influence is in the Azure Blue world, and how famous and ambitious Tian Heibo is. Even the patriarchs of the 5 great clans would be very polite to him. However, Ning Yaoguang's students actually dared to openly insult the Tian family's patriarch. Wasn't this infuriating him? He devoured the Starry School." Meng Baichuan was stunned. "You mean the students of the Alcade branch?" Chapter 1729. The other vice deans and instructors looked at each other with puzzled expressions. What's going on? The Starry School's students and the Tian clan should have nothing to do with each other. Why would Jun Muyan and the others offend the Tian clan? Jiang Taihong looked at the ugly expression on Meng Baichuan's face, his eyes filled with glee. He exaggerated the story of how Tian Heibo tried to recruit students from the Yaoguang branch, but was humiliated and left by them. In the end, he said righteously, "In my opinion, there is only one way to protect the Starry School. It was to expel Jun Muyan and the rest from the Starry School. As long as these people have nothing to do with the Starry School, clan leader Tian's anger will not affect us." When Jiang Taihong said this, he thought that everyone would agree with him. However, as soon as he finished speaking, he realized that the room was completely silent. Many of the branch deans and instructors looked at him with complicated expressions. Meng Baichuan couldn't help but scoff. Vice Principal Jiang Shaw is a good teacher. Without Yaoguang's consent, she didn't even inform me, the principal. Swallowing the Tian family and taking away our academy's students. What do you take us Starry School students for? Jiang Taihong was furious. I'm doing this for their own good. Bah. The principal of the Megrez branch had a fiery temper. He scolded Jiang Taihong mercilessly. Jiang Taihong, why don't you take a look at whether they want you to help them or not? Furthermore, have you forgotten that the Alcade branch is going to represent the Starry School to participate in the Dear Cry banquet? You gave him to the Tian clan just like that, and you even said that it was for their own good, for the sake of the Starry School. How shameless can you be? Jiang Taihong's face turned green and white, wanting to refute. However, most of the branch deans and instructors pointed at his nose and scolded him for inviting a wolf into the house. This made Jiang Taihong so angry that his lungs were about to explode. Of course, there were also some teachers and branch deans who were afraid of death who agreed with Jiang Taihong. No matter what, the people from the Alcade branch had already offended the Tian family. As for the Tian clan, the Starry School could not afford to offend such a powerful force. The best way was to push Jun Muyan and the others out and draw a clear line between them. Only then could the Starry School be saved. I will never agree. You don't have to say anything else. As the college chief of the Starry School, I have the responsibility to protect all the students. As long as Jun Muyan and the rest are still in Starry School, I will definitely protect them. Jiang Taihong looked at Meng Baichuan and the people surrounding him. A venomous glint flashed in his eyes. Haha, speaking so gloriously, I want to see how many days you can persevere under the suppression of the Tian clan. Muyan is flipping through her perfect golden core in the space. This book was taken out from the book tower by Qi Huang when he turned into a little doll carved from jade. Mu Yang cultivated according to the cultivation method recorded in the ancient book, and sure enough, her progress was very fast. Now, she could clearly feel that the peak of her but had truly reached perfection. He was only one step away from the perfect core formation. Her present strength had surpassed all Jindan Xiuzhe long ago. Even if it was a first-stage nascent soul cultivator, she would be able to barely put up a fight if she went all out. However, even though it's only one step, even though there's only a thin layer of muslin separating her from core formation, Muyan still hasn't touched that crucial point. Chapter 1730. Qi Huang, what's the problem? She couldn't help but look up and ask, why is it that after so long, my fellow disciples and I still can't reach core formation? In fact, the bottleneck of core formation was not only stuck for Mu Yang, but also for the rest of the Xiao Yarrow sect. Especially Yun Ruohan and Qin Ju, the two of them had been stuck at Pekinedia for longer than her. Their strength had long surpassed that of ordinary Jindan cultivators. But they still couldn't touch the threshold of core formation. Qi Huang was showing off his new clothes to Little Phoenix and Bai Xie. This guy was stealing a lot of Mu Yang's crystals every day. He could buy clothes in Tianguang ruins if he wanted to. But he had to pester Mu Yang to give them to him. After that, he went to Xiao Bao, the Fat Rabbit, Little Phoenix and Bai Xie to show off. In the end, after she was done showing off, Little Phoenix, Fat Rabbit and Bai Xie could not take it anymore. Even Xiao Bao was hugging her leg pitifully. Although he did not say anything, but his expression of mother buys gifts for others but not for Xiao Bao, does mother not love Xiao Bao anymore? Was very clear. Mu Yang had a big headache. She could only take turns to buy all kinds of strange things for this group of little ancestors in Tianguang ruins. She clearly had a shop that sold crystals, but she was so poor that she was even more pitiful than a cabbage. Qi Huang sneered, what's so strange about that? Since it's a perfect advancement, of course it will be thousands of times more difficult than an ordinary advancement. If you want to reach core formation without an epiphany, don't even dream about it. As for your fellow disciples, although they didn't have a perfect advancement, but after being trained by Di Mingju and the pretty boy for a period of time, their bodies and spiritual power circulation are completely different. Plus, each of them have already activated their domains, or are about to do so. Naturally, it won't be easy for them to reach core formation. Everything in the world is balanced. A perfect advancement can bestow you with great strength, but it will naturally bring several times more difficulties than an ordinary advancement. Do you think everyone is like your son? A child of heaven's will, Who can casually cast an immortal body without any bottlenecks before ascending? Xiao Bao blinked, looking at Qi Huang, then at the somewhat depressed Mu Yang. Suddenly, he throws himself into Mu Yang's arms and gently rubs against her. Then, he blushes and kisses Mu Yang's face. Mother, little treasure will give all the good luck to you. Help mother advance. Mu Yan's heart immediately softens into a puddle of water. Mo Tiange completely threw the depression of not being able to form her gold core to the back of her mind. She hugged Xiaobao and kissed him several times. Compared to that brat who only knew how to squander, he was 10,000 times cuter. Qi Huang is flustered and exasperated as he curses, Jun Muyan, don't think that I don't know that you're silently criticizing me. Which part of me can't be compared to that little bastard of yours? Before he could finish his words, the fat rabbit had already taken a bite at Qi Huang with a howl. Even the little phoenix, who was most afraid of Qi Huang, was flying around him and pecking at him. Even the evil warding sword whistled as it rushed forward to take advantage of the situation. Daring to scold their little master, they must be tired of living. You're the little bastard. Your whole family is made up of little bastards. Mu Yang looks at Qi Huang, who's being chased all over the space by a few little guys. She immediately convulses with laughter. Sure enough, in this world, the only one who can restrain that brat's spirit is her family's Xiao Bao. While the space is in chaos, Mu Yang suddenly hears a knock on the door from the outside. Chapter 1731. She opened the door and walked out, only to find that it was Fatty Zheng. No, she should not call him Fatty Zheng anymore. This was because he had lost a lot of weight. His originally fat face that looked like a Maitreya Buddha was now sunken in. This made him look even more handsome and dashing. Especially his bean-like eyes. After his face became thinner, they became long and narrow. Occasionally, a sharpness would flash through his eyes. His entire temperament was completely different from before. Mu Yang sighed softly. Jiang Xinyu's tragic death was a huge blow to Zheng Little Fatty. Tribulations could change a person beyond recognition overnight, but they could also make a person grow up overnight. However, seeing Mu Yang, Zheng's eyes still lit up. He bowed and greeted, "Boss." Mu Yang smiles at him and leads him into the room to take a seat. Without waiting for Mu Yang to ask, Zheng Xiaopang said, "Boss, I came to find you today because something happened in the Starry School recently." Recently, when Starry School went out to buy things, they were all rejected by all the shops. No one dared to accept the goods that they took out from the school. Most importantly, apart from the most dangerous Danyang mountain range, the few forests near Starry School are all guarded. Starry School students are not allowed to enter. Students can't train, so they naturally can't become stronger. He paused and said in a low voice, "Someone wants to trap Starry School." Mu Yang frowned. Then, she thought of something and said coldly, "It's the Tian clan." Zheng was surprised. "Boss, you know about it?" Mu Yang squinted and did not answer. Zheng continued, "Although our Zheng clan is not a prestigious clan in the Azure Blue world, we have many people under us. People from our side branches are involved in many places. I only found out about it after hearing it from my cousins." In reality, when he returned to the Zheng clan, he realized that there were people who wanted to steal his brother Zheng Jiaming's position as the successor. Thus, Zheng Little Fatty, who had been reborn, ruthlessly taught his disobedient cousins a lesson. At that time, a cousin had spread the word that the Tian clan was determined to get the 7 people from the Alcade branch. Now, even the entire Starry School had been locked down. If the Starry School did not hand over Jun Muyan and the rest, the entire Starry School would be finished. He told Zheng Little Fatty not to be too arrogant, because soon he wouldn't even be able to stay in the academy anymore. Zheng Fatty taught them a good lesson, and they all begged for mercy before rushing back to the Starry School. As soon as he returned, Zheng Little Fatty realized that something was wrong. Although all the mentors and branch deans tried their best to cover up the peace. But it was true that the various super courtyards were supplying the inner courtyard with fewer and fewer medicinal pills each day, and the outer courtyard students were practically non-existent. Many students from the outer yard even made a ruckus, but they were all suppressed by the tutors. But his resentment was getting deeper and deeper. There was also the items that could be exchanged within the glittering jewel warehouse. In the past, they were all rare and precious treasures. They were things that could not be bought in the shops of other cities. But right now, the treasures within the glittering jewel warehouse were becoming fewer and fewer. There were only a few items that could be exchanged. Moreover, the mission hall of the glittering jewel warehouse had not released any high-level missions for a long time. All of this showed that the Starry School was in a dire situation. Chapter 1732. Zheng Xiaopang. Our Zheng family is related to the Tian family by marriage, so I sent someone to the Tian family to inquire about it. Then I heard. He frowned and looked at Mu Yang, deep worry in his eyes. Mu Yang calmed down instead. Heard what? Fatty Zheng said, the head of the Tian family has sworn to get the people of the Alcade branch, especially you. Cutting off all cultivation resources for Starry School is only the first step. The second step is to completely surround Starry School and turn it into an isolated city. Unless you are willing to sign a 100 years contract with the Tian clan will make Starry School lose its footing in the azure blue world. Mu Yang was not angry. Instead, she laughed. How shameless is Tian Heibo to want the Xiaoyaro School to serve him for 100 years. Zheng Xiaopang's mood was not too optimistic, but boss, their intentions are truly sinister. In this period of time, the anger of the Starry School students will definitely accumulate bit by bit. In the end, it will turn into anger and hatred. By then, even if you don't leave, maybe everyone will chase you away. In a desperate situation, human nature could not withstand the test. I heard that the Tian clan once used a similar method to cripple the top cultivators of several sects. In the end, the sect was completely swallowed by the Tian clan. Mu Yang smiled faintly and said slowly, now that you say it, I am really looking forward to it. She did not need to wait for the Tian clan to attack the innocent Starry School students. She could go to the Tian clan and meet the Tian clan leader herself. It's just that, before Mu Yang could finish her words, all of a sudden, the identity jade tokens in their bosoms emitted a beeping sound. Mu Yang took out the Starry School token and saw a line of words. All Starry School students, gather at Tai Square of the School of the Emperor Star immediately. Mu Yang, the rest of the Xiaoyaro School, and Zheng Xiaopang boarded the spaceship and quickly arrived at Tai Square. Tai Square had already changed its appearance. The center was raised high, forming a high platform. Jiang Taihong was currently standing in the middle of the stage, looking at the students gathering around him in high spirits. Seeing Mu Yang and the others jump out of the spaceship, Jiang Taihong's eyes burst out with a sharp light. Mu Yang smiled at Zheng Xiaopang and said, looks like someone can't hold it in anymore. Meng Baichuan rushed to the plaza, and saw Jiang Taihong standing in the middle of the stage. He immediately rushed up in anger. What are you doing? Who told you to gather all the students? Only he, the college chief of the Starry School, had the right to gather all the students. However, no one knew where Jiang Taihong had obtained this authority from. Not only could he announce the highest level of the Starry School, but he could also control the Tai Square, a mustered divine device. Meng Baichuan was shocked and furious. It seemed like the connection between Jiang Taihong and Di Yudao was far deeper than he had imagined. Take it deep. How could Jiang Taihong care about Meng Baichuan's expression? He glanced at Meng Baichuan coldly and said in a low voice, the authority to gather the students and control the Taiyi Plaza belongs to me. Your position as dean should also belong to me. After today, everything should be returned. You. Meng Baichuan wanted to attack, but Jiang Taihong waved his hand. The place where Meng Baichuan was standing immediately sank, and the two were quickly separated. Chapter 1733. Jiang Taihong did not wait for Meng Baichuan and the other tutors to react and immediately said loudly, everyone, you should have noticed that the cultivation resources of the Starry School have been decreasing recently. The treasures in the glittering jewel warehouse are almost used up. Those who went out to train are either chased back or covered in injuries. Do you know who the culprit behind all of this is? As soon as he said this, the students below were instantly stirred up. The anger and grievances that had accumulated over the past few days exploded at once. Who did this to us? I went to buy pills. Once they heard that I was a student of the Starry School, those bastards not only refused to sell the pills to me, they even beat me up. Why did they do this? Hearing the crowd's anger, Jiang Taihong's expression became more and more smug. He sneered and glanced at Mu Yang and the others. Seeing that her expression was normal, he thought to himself, you can only be smug for a while. Very soon, you will have a taste of being condemned by the public. Jiang Taihong raised his hand and gestured for the students to quiet down. However, the people below were still in a mess. No one paid attention to him at all. Jiang Taihong's expression darkened. He suddenly let out a roar and his might spread out. Only then did the noisy students below slowly quieten down. Jiang Taihong said in a low voice, "Now, let me tell you, who is the culprit behind all this?" As he said this, he slowly raised his hand and pointed at Mu Yang and the others standing in the corner. It's them. It's the people from the Alcade branch who offended the leader of the Tian clan, causing the Tian clan to be furious and want to punish the Starry School. The humiliation that you have suffered these days and the unfair treatment that the Starry School has experienced are all because of them. The news that Jiang Taihong had dropped had all the students in the Tai Square dizzy. What is going on? How did the people from the Alcade branch offend the leader of the Tian clan? Yes, we and the Tian clan have not interfered with each other. Seeing that the students below were all agitated, Jiang Taihong's face flashed with pride. He coughs lightly and uses his spiritual power to amplify his voice. He vividly recounts how Tian Heibo spent a lot of money to recruit Muyan, and even wanted to marry her as his official wife. How Muyan didn't know what was good for her and sternly refused, and even insulted Tian Heibo as a toad. Think about it, what kind of person is Patriarch Tian? In the entire azure blue world, who wouldn't be respectful when they saw him? Those people from the Alcade branch dared to offend clan leader Tian. The Tian clan will not let it go so easily, so our Starry School was implicated by them. Now that the Starry School's vitality had not been greatly damaged, the crowd was naturally furious. How could they surrender so easily? If Jiang Taihong was in front of him right now, Tian Heibo would definitely choke him to death. Patriarch, something's wrong. The steward hurriedly ran in, saying in a panic, Patriarch, our shops in the Azure Cloud world have all been purchased by the Dark Flame Army. Now, their hands have even extended to the Azure Blue realm. They are rich and overbearing, and we really can't stand against them. Furthermore, the stewards of those shops are the backbone of my Tian family's army. Before he could finish, Tian Heibo had already picked up a porcelain bottle and smashed it over. The steward screamed in pain. His head was smashed, and he fell to the ground. Chapter 1735. Get lost. Why did you come to me for such a small matter? Why do I keep you useless people? Whoever dares to touch the Tian clan's property, can't I just kill them? The housekeeper wanted to explain, but seeing Tian Heibo's furious expression, he did not dare to say anything and ran away. Luo Tian approached Tian Heibo carefully and said in a low voice, Clan leader, now that things have come to this, why don't we go all the way? Let's just lock down the Starry School and snatch them back. Tian Heibo was about to get angry, but hearing Luo Tian's words, his eyes moved slightly. Luo Tian continued, Clan leader, think about it. Although the Starry School has some resources, they only have 2 nascent soul cultivators that we can use now. Jiang Taihong is on our side. The remaining Golden Core tutors are not even as many as the Tian clan's guests. As for the students, other than a few elites, the rest are just trash. Once the Tian army moves, I guarantee that they will be scared shitless. At that time, if they are still unwilling to hand over Jun Muyan and the Carefree team, we might as well bring the entire Starry School under the Tian clan. What do you think? Tian Heibo's expression became more and more spirited as he listened, his eyes shining brightly. Finally, he slammed the table and said loudly, All right, gather all the people in the Tian clan now and surround the entire Starry School. Haha, I want them to know the consequences of offending me, Tian Heibo. Luo Tian, you will be in charge of this. All the people in the Tian clan will be under your command. You must bring that bitch Jun Muyan back. Tian Heibo patted Luo Tian's shoulder and said gently, if you do this well, the position of the Tian army's commander will be yours. Don't disappoint me. Luo Tian was so excited that his entire body could not help but tremble. He quickly bowed and said, Clan leader, don't worry. I will definitely do this well. Azure Blue World, Murong clan. You have taught her wrong, it's different from what the boss said. The chubby little Bin put his hands on his hips and said sternly to the middle-aged man in front of him, our boss is never wrong, so you must have taught him wrong. The middle-aged man was called Liao Zhong. He was a golden core stage cultivator. He was also the instructor that the Murong family had hired to teach Murong Hao and a few other juniors. Liao Zhong was not very strong, but as a golden core stage cultivator, it was more than enough for him to teach a little kid like Murong Hao. However, he did not expect Murong Hao to say that the method he taught was wrong. Liao Zhong's face turned green and white as he was told by a 6-year-old child that he had taught the wrong things. I've been teaching cultivation for so many years, and no one has ever said that I'm wrong. Young master said that I am different from your boss. I wonder who your boss is. Could it be a nascent soul expert? Murong Hao puffed up his cheeks. Boss is the boss. Boss is the best. Of course he's right. Ha 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 ha. What kind of original infant stage expert is this? On the side, a little boy who was a head taller than Murong Hao suddenly laughed. That's a kid who's even younger than him. I heard it from my father. What boss? What expert? Calling a 5-year-old kid boss, it's really funny. Bastard. You're not allowed to say that about my boss. Murong Hao rushed over like a small cannonball and ruthlessly hit Murong Peng's abdomen. Chapter 1736. Murong Peng cried out in pain and took a few steps back. He was so embarrassed that he was about to attack Murong Hao. Liao Zhong quickly stopped the two of them. Murong Peng was the son of Murong Bai's concubine. Murong Hao, on the other hand, was the most distinguished grandson of the Murong family and was recognized as talented since birth. Naturally, their statuses could not be mentioned in the same breath. But Liao Zhong was really angry. Murong Hao just said that he was not even comparable to a 5-year-old. He couldn't help but put on a serious face. Young master, you shouldn't have befriended those shady people outside. They've brought you back now. What boss? How could you believe the words of a 5-year-old kid? Murong Hao was about to explode. You're the shady one. Our boss is the best. He's the best in the world and the best in the world. What you've taught is bullshit. It can't even compare to a hair on our boss's head. I don't want you to teach me anymore. Liao Zhong was so angry that he almost fainted. Murong Peng rubbed his stomach and suddenly rolled his eyes. Murong Hao, you said that your boss is very powerful and what he taught you is right? Then do you have the guts to accept my challenge? Murong Hao tilted his head. Challenge? Yes. Murong Peng pointed at Liao Peng. I'll fight you using what Mr. Liao taught me. If I lose, it means that your boss is more powerful. If you lose, it means that Mr. Liao is powerful and your boss is nothing. Murong Hao said, all right. Let's fight. I don't need the skills that boss taught me. I'll beat your teeth out. Liao Zhong wanted to stop the fight. After all, Murong Hao was too young. He was only 6 years old while Murong Peng was already 9. Although Murong Hao was very talented, he had been pampered all these years. Usually, he only knew how to play around, and no one forced him to cultivate. Murong Peng, on the other hand, practiced hard every day because his father was born of a concubine. He wanted to win Murong Bai's favor. He was very scheming at such a young age. On one hand, he was jealous of Murong Hao's treatment, but on the other hand, he hoped that Murong Hao could live like this forever. At that time, he would become a good-for-nothing debauchee, and everything that belonged to Murong family would be inherited by him. Therefore, he was determined to teach Murong Hao a lesson in front of the master. At that time, when this news reached his grandfather, Murong Bai's ears, perhaps Murong Bai would have a whole new level of respect for him. Liao Zhong frowned and said, Young master, I think there's no need for a competition. No. Murong Hao refused without hesitation. I won't let anyone who insults boss get away with it. He swore to be the boss's #1 follower. If he didn't work hard to protect boss's face, how would he be able to face boss in the future? What if his position as the #1 lackey was snatched away by someone else? Liao Zhong was infuriated as well. His face darkened as he retreated to the side. All right, then stop where you're going to. Let's exchange some pointers. It seemed like it was time to teach this young master who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth a lesson. When the servants and maids who were serving Murong Hao and Murong Peng saw the development of the situation, they all looked worried and panicked. They all liked Murong Hao, the cute little boy. Although he was usually mischievous, he never lost his temper at them. At this moment, it was obvious that Murong Hao would lose the duel between Murong Peng and Murong Hao. He might even lose miserably. A clever servant had already sneaked into the crowd and ran towards Murong Bai's study. Chapter 1737. Hearing that, Murong Bai immediately slammed the table and shouted, "What did you say? Hao wants to compete with Peng Er? What kind of joke was this? His Hao was so chubby and small, how could he beat the 9-year-old Murong Peng? What's more, Murong Hao had just been kidnapped and narrowly escaped death. Murong Bai and the others couldn't wait to see his precious grandson get beaten up. Now, when he thought about how his precious grandson was about to be beaten up, he was instantly unable to sit still, and he dashed towards the practice grounds like a bolt of lightning. However, once he reached the training field, Murong Bai discovered that the place was packed to the brim with people and the entire training field was silent. Everyone's expression looked like they had seen a ghost as they stared at the center of the training field. Liao Zhong's eyes almost popped out of their sockets, his mouth was half open and his face was blank. He didn't even notice that he dropped his sword. Murong Bai was surprised that everyone had this kind of expression on their faces. Then he heard his precious grandson's voice coming from the crowd. "Do you submit? Do you admit defeat?" What followed was the sound of fists pounding on flesh. And Murong Peng's sobbing begging. I submit. Don't hit me anymore. Mph, then apologize to my boss. I'll apologize. Do you still dare to speak ill of my boss in the future? Woo-woo, I won't dare anymore. Isn't my boss the strongest and greatest in the world? Yes. Woo-woo. Murong Bai regained his senses and hurriedly pushed through the crowd. As soon as he squeezed in, he saw his chubby little grandson riding on the 9-year-old Murong Peng's body, arrogantly asking Murong Peng to tell him how great his boss was. If Murong Peng spoke slowly, he would use his fists to serve him. His fists were faintly wrapped in a layer of spiritual energy. Although the punches didn't hurt Murong Peng's muscles or bones, it made him cry out in pain. A 9-year-old boy was being ridden on by a 6-year-old little bean, unable to resist at all. This scene truly scared everyone present. Seeing this scene, Murong Bai was startled at first, but then he couldn't help but clap his hands and burst into laughter. Good, as expected of my good grandson. Just by looking at the punches that landed on Murong Peng's body, it could be seen that Murong Hao's control over his spiritual power was already very fine. Therefore, even though his cultivation level was not as high as Murong Peng's, in terms of combat ability, he was able to beat Murong Peng, who was 3 years older than him. Grandfather. When Murong Hao heard Murong Bai's voice, he immediately abandoned Murong Peng, who was beaten black and blue, and dove into Murong Bai's embrace. Grandpa, why are you here? Murong Bai had always doted on this little grandson who loved to act spoiled. She didn't think that such intimacy would affect her dignity. She hugged him and kissed him. Grandpa, come and see how awesome Hao is. Of course. Murong Hao puffed out his chest and said proudly, I'm Big Brother's little brother. How can I embarrass Big Brother? When Murong Hao said this, Murong Bai's expression changed a little. He pulled Murong Hao to a place where there was no one around. Hao, the battle between you and your cousin just now, was it really taught by your boss? Of course. Murong Hao said without hesitation. Big Brother brought us to fight all kinds of dire beasts in the Danyang mountain range. We're amazing, we even killed a class 4 dire beast. Chapter 1738. The teeth that Hauer gave Grandpa were made by us. This time, Murongbai was truly shocked. He had always thought that they had picked up the Class 4 fierce beast's teeth from the Danyang mountain range. As for the part about killing a Class 4 dire beast together, that was just a child's boast. Who would have thought that it was actually true? Hauer, did you guys really kill that Class 4 dire beast? Your boss didn't help you? Grandpa, you are so stupid. Of course, the Class 4 dire beast was killed by us. If the boss were to take action, forget about a Class 4 dire beast, even a Class 6 or 7 dire beast would be easily killed. Murong-Hao hugged Murongbai's thigh. Grandpa, when can I go see boss again? I haven't seen boss in a long time. Murongbai muttered to himself for a while before saying, all right, Grandpa will bring you to see your boss in 2 days. It seems that he should go and ask that monstrous little doll, Jun Muyan's son, how did he teach his grandson? He had actually made his grandson become so powerful within a month. Oh, Grandpa is the best. Hauer loves Grandpa the most. Hehe, I want to tell this good news to Yang Yang and the others. I have my grandfather to take me to see boss, but they can't. Everyone will be so jealous of me. Thus, 1 day later, the Nailan family, Lu family, Duan family, and Feng family were all in an uproar. All the little fellows were clamoring to see their boss. Nailan Yang's eyes turned into walnuts from crying. Woo-woo, Grandpa doesn't love Yang Yang anymore. Hao Hao's grandpa already brought Hao Hao to see boss, but Grandpa didn't bring Yang Yang. Grandpa doesn't love Yang Yang at all. In the face of his precious granddaughter's tears, what could Nailan Qing do? He was also helpless. Okay. Grandpa will bring you to see your boss, okay? Nailan Yang immediately smiled through his tears. He hugged his grandfather and kissed him heavily on his face. Grandpa is the best. Yang Yang loves Grandpa the most. Grandpa Nailan thought sourly, what do you mean by loving Grandpa the most? The one you love the most is your boss, right? Forget it. In any case, he also wants to pay a visit to Jun Muyan and her Evildor son. After her granddaughter came back, her strength had improved so much that she was shocked. Also, the pills and talismans that his granddaughter had taken out were not things that he had never seen before. Even in Tianguang ruins, he couldn't buy them even if he wanted to. Ask her where these things come from. Nailan Yang shook his head and said happily, Auntie gave it to Yang Yang. His mother was very good. She was beautiful and powerful, and she could conjure up many things. Hao Hao and the others also had some, but Yang Yang had the most. Because old mother said that Yang Yang is a beautiful girl and needs to be spoiled. Nailan Yang smiled. She wanted to see her little brother, and she also wanted to see his mother. Nailan Qing, on the other hand, had a pensive look on his face. All right, Grandpa will contact the Murong family and the Lu family. Everyone will arrange a time to visit your boss together. Mu Yang came out of the space and yawned, looking exhausted. Luo Yu asked, Sixth senior sister, what have you been busy with recently? That Tian family has gone too far. Should we directly go and kill our way to their door? Yun Ruohan frowned. The Tian family's master is at the nascent soul stage, and there are hundreds of golden core experts under him, as well as thousands of Tian family's lords. If we rashly go and kill our way to their door, wouldn't that be courting death? Then what should we do? Lung Yu Mo gritted her teeth and said, are we just going to let them be arrogant? This Laonyang will absolutely not swallow this. Chapter 1739. Mu Yang smiled, don't worry, if we can't hunt the vicious beast directly, we can first cut off its claws, pull out its teeth, and then it won't be too late. What do you mean? Although I don't understand what it means, Junior Marshall Sisters' expression is too similar to Third Senior Marshall Brothers. Hehe, I have a feeling that someone is going to suffer. Speaking of which, what has Third Senior Brother been doing in seclusion all this time? I didn't even see a shadow. As they spoke, the identity tokens on their bodies began to ring. Yun Ruohan asked, you want us to gather at Tai Square again? It must be that Jiang Taihong. What the hell is he up to this time? What the hell is going on? Won't we know once we take a look? Sure enough, as soon as Mu Yang and the others arrive at Taiyi Plaza, they see Jiang Taihong standing in the middle with a sinister expression. This time, Jiang Taihong didn't reveal any arrogant or excited expression. Instead, he looked at the students and teachers who arrived one after another with a straight face. His eyes occasionally flashed with struggle, but in the end it was replaced by malice and resentment. Especially when he saw Meng Baichuan coming over, his eyes were filled with resentment. The moment Meng Baichuan landed, he immediately pointed at Jiang Taihong and cursed, "What the hell are you doing? Who gave you the right to torment students again and again?" Jiang Taihong did not answer him. Instead, he glanced at the Taiyi Square and realized that all the students and teachers of the Starry School had basically arrived. Only then did he open his mouth and reveal a sinister smile. "I've warned you before. Don't go against the Tian family. Don't refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. But you don't listen to me, and you insist on protecting those people from the Alcade institution. Haha, you only have yourselves to blame for ending up like this." The expressions of Meng Baichuan and the branch deans beside him changed when they heard that. "Jiang Taihong, what did you do?" Just as he finished speaking, a blinding light shone from the center of the School of the Emperor Star. Then, the matrix that enveloped the entire Starry School disappeared. Jiang Taihong threw away the shattered jade slip in his hand and glared at Meng Baichuan with a twisted expression. "You forced me to do this. The position of dean was mine to begin with, but you just had to snatch it away. I could have been on good terms with the Tian family, but you just had to destroy it. So, don't blame me for being ruthless. I was forced by you. I just want to borrow the Tian family's hand to take back what I deserve." The next moment, countless spaceships descended from the sky. Dozens or even hundreds of Xiuzhe wearing the clothing of the Tian family came down from each flying ship. All the students and teachers were shocked, unable to react to what had just happened. Mu Yang, on the other hand, slightly frowns. A cold glint flashes under her lowered eyes. When all the flying ships stopped, the Tian family cultivators immediately scattered. Some went to destroy or take away all the spaceships parked around Taiyi Square. There were also some who sealed off the School of the Emperor Star to the outside world. The students and teachers in the square were in a state of panic. Shocked and angry, they wanted to stop him, but they were stopped by hundreds of golden core cultivators. In an instant, the School of the Emperor Star became an isolated city. Luo Tian swaggered down from a luxurious spaceship and sneered at the teachers and students who were ready to make a move. "You guys better not act rashly. Otherwise, if our Tian family cultivators were to accidentally injure these students and cause them to lose an arm or a leg, I'm afraid you'll be the one to feel heartache." Our clan leader was originally also a venerable to the Starry School, and he wanted to recruit the students here for his own use. Who asked someone to not know what's good for them and offend our patriarch? Don't blame our Tian family for being ruthless. If you want to blame someone, blame those who overestimated themselves and implicated your people. Moreover, if they give up resisting now and sign the contract with the Tian family, wouldn't everyone in the Starry School be fine? Luo Tian's words caused many people to look at Mu Yang's group. Chapter 1741. Sworn to live and die with Starry School. 1. A female voice suddenly screamed from the crowd, "Jun Muyan, Ling Yusheng, are you really going to watch the entire school be implicated by you? If you still have a conscience, shouldn't you stand up and sign the contract yourselves?" Muyan looked in the direction of the voice. It was indeed Ouyang Mingzhu who would point out the fifth senior brother. Ouyang Mingzhu strode out of the crowd and pointed at them, saying righteously, "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and say that you're willing to sign the contract." Muyan said slowly, "What if I'm not willing? You're so shameless." Behind Ouyang Mingzhu, a skinny woman and a short and fat man jumped out together, shouting, "Everyone, this has nothing to do with the Starry School. It's all because the people from the Yaoguang branch offended the Tian clan leader. That's why all of us are in trouble. If it were me, I would definitely stand up and be willing to reconcile with Tian clan. But they're so cold-hearted. He would rather watch our academy's students die." Shouldn't we take the initiative to expel such a scum from the Starry School? Muyan glanced at the two people who were speaking. They were actually acquaintances. During the Tri-School tournament, the two students from the Aliath branch who urged everyone to remove the Xiao Yaro team from the tournament. Now it seemed that the two had a close relationship with Ouyang Mingzhu. Ouyang Mingzhu cried, "Yusheng, you've always been a kind person. Even if you have to sacrifice yourself, you'd never be willing to implicate others. Why have you changed now? Just treat it as me begging you. On account of our childhood friendship, why don't you give in? Tian clan is also one of the top clans in the Azure Blue world. If you go there, it won't be a disgrace. Why are you just willing to agree?" The three's words indeed resonated with a portion of the teachers and students in Tai Square. Especially the students and tutors of the Aliath branch, there were even a few who agreed. They hurriedly urged Muyan's group to immediately sign the contract with Tian clan so that innocent people like them would not be implicated. Some even suggested that they did not need to wait for Mu Yang and the others to make a decision. They could just chase everyone from the Alcade branch out of the Starry School. Jiang Taihong looked at Meng Baichuan mockingly. "Do you see that? This is the general trend. Are you really going to sacrifice all the students of the Starry School for just 7 people?" Meng Baichuan's face turned pale. He wanted to stop them from cursing, but he felt as if something was stuck in his throat. If he had to sacrifice other innocent students in order to protect the students of the Alcade branch, wouldn't he have failed in his duty as the dean? Luo Tian watched as these people coordinated with his performance and felt an indescribable joy in his heart. Because he knew that if this went on, then perhaps he wouldn't even have to use force, and he would be able to resolve the matter perfectly. However, what they didn't realize was that there were only a few people in the entire plaza who were shouting for Mu Yang and the others to sacrifice and scram. Most of them shut their mouths tightly while their expressions were cold, solemn, and oppressive. It was like the calm before the storm. Luo Tian raised his chin and looked at the people of the Yaoguang branch with a condescending look. "Have you made up your mind? Are you going to immediately submit to the Tian clan? Submit your ass." Leng Yumo jumped up and was about to beat someone up, but was stopped by Mu Yang. Chapter 1742. She smiled faintly and said, "In that case, the 7 of us from the Xiaoyaro school will leave the Starry School together." Before she could finish her words, a shout came from the crowd. "I don't agree to expel the people from the Alcade branch from the Starry School." Qin Yinglu from the Tianxian branch said. "I don't agree either." Xu Yingbua from the Tianquan branch also stood out. What did the people from the Alcade branch do? Why should they be sacrificed? Why should they be expelled from the school? The young man from the Tianshu branch who had always been by Ouyang Qing's side also walked up. "If our lives can only be saved by sacrificing innocent students, how can we continue living in the future?" Chen Ping and Wu Gui, who were loyal to Yi Liangchen, also spoke up. "When the Xiaoyaro team won glory for us, we shouted that they were our classmates. Once there's a bit of trouble, we denied all responsibility. We can't do such a shameless thing." More and more students started to stand out. Some were from the inner school, some were from the outer school. Some were from the freshman competition with Mu Yang and the rest. Some had listened to Luo Yunxiao and Di Mingju's lectures in the Alcade branch. Some of them had once argued with Mu Yang and the others and had disagreements. Some were loyal to Yi Liangchen and the Xiaoyaro team. More and more people stood behind Qin Anlu and Xu Yingbua, who were the first to speak. Slowly, the crowd was divided into 2 groups. Behind Qin Anlu and Xu Yingbua was a dense group of students and teachers. Their eyes were firm and their expressions were determined. There was fear and panic on their faces, but most of them were determined not to turn back. On the other side, behind Ouyang Mingzhu, there were only a dozen people. After seeing this scene, some of them even looked ashamed and wanted to sneak behind Qin Anlu and Xu Yingbua. Ouyang Mingzhu's face, which was originally full of pride, instantly turned into anger out of humiliation. The faces of the people behind her were all flushed red, wishing they could find a hole to hide in. Qin Anlu looked at them in disdain and said coldly, "None of us are unafraid of death." However, You tried to sacrifice your companions' lives and benefits in exchange for your own survival. I, Chinanlu, am ashamed to call such a person my classmate. Yes. Since you're so afraid of death, isn't it easy for you to survive? Why don't you just drop out of Starry School? The Alcade branch is a part of the Starry School. Jun Muyan and the Carefree team are all students of the Starry School. They fought for Constellation and won glory for us. Now, someone actually wants to expel them. I won't agree even if I die. Damn it, I may not be a hero, but I'm going to risk my life today. Damned Tian family, if you want to take away our academy's students, then you'll have to step over my dead body. Yes, we swear to live and die with Constellation today. You want us to sacrifice our companions to survive. Dream on. The positions of the Starry School's teachers and students changed again. The dense crowd surrounded the 7 people from the Xiao Yarrow sect, not giving them any opportunity to attack. The tutors and branch deans of the Starry School stood up spontaneously and stood at the front of the crowd, protecting their students. With tears in his eyes, Meng Baichuan leaped and landed in front of all the instructors. Using his spiritual power to amplify his voice, he shouted, "If you want to touch the Constellation students, you'll have to do it over my dead body." Bookmark for easier reading. Chapter 1743. Xiaobao's Reinforcements. 1. Protect our companions. We swear to live and die with Starry School. We swear to live and die with Starry School. When they saw the Tian family army land, heard Luo Tian's threat, and Ouyang Mingzhu's questioning, the expressions of the Xiaoyaro School people did not change. However, at this moment, when they saw the Starry School students surrounding them and using their not-so-strong bodies to shield them from all the attacks, their eyes turned red one after another. Mu Yang pressed her hand on her chest. Something seemed to be boiling and burning there. When she first entered Starry School, she only wanted to find Xiaobao to kill time and learn something. Entering the Qingyun ranking, participating in the glorious heavenly light, and shining in the Tri-School tournament. To the Xiaoyaro School people, it was just a pastime. However, their casual actions were remembered by the students of this academy bit by bit. They saw the Xiaoyaro team as the pride of Starry School. They saw Yi Liangchen as the symbol of Starry School, the boss they respected and admired. Facing a desperate situation, they clearly had a chance to escape. They were so weak, but they still stood in front of them and wanted to protect them. Suddenly, Mu Yang heard Luo use hoarse voice. I feel that for the first time, I'm proud to be a student of Starry School. Yes. They were students of Starry School. Swearing to live and die with Starry School was not an empty promise. Mu Yang took a deep breath and forced the warmth in her eyes away. She pushed the crowd aside and walked forward slowly. Luo Tian didn't expect things to turn out the way he wanted. He looked at the group of students with a sinister gaze. Just as he's planning to kill someone to frighten the tiger, he sees Jun Muyan coming forward. He rolled his eyes and couldn't help but sneer. What? Seeing so many students sacrificing themselves to protect you, Jun Mu Yang, you finally found your conscience and stopped going against Tian Clan? Haha, don't worry. As long as you sign a 100-year contract with Tian Clan, we will not mistreat you. We will still give you a few hundred top-grade crystals a year. Ha ha ha. But if he still wanted the treatment that the patriarch had proposed at the beginning, it would be a daydream. Mu Yang faintly smiled, and said unhurriedly, unfortunately, I don't want to choose either of these two paths. You don't want to choose? Luo Tian's face darkened. This is not up to you. Either you pledge allegiance to my Tian family, or you watch helplessly as your classmate dies because of you. You don't have a third choice. No, we do. The people from the Xiao Yarrow School slowly walked up. Leng Yumor took out her long blade. The third choice is for us to kill all of your Tian family members here. As soon as these words came out, the surrounding noise quieted down for a moment. At first, Luo Tian was startled by the powerful aura emanating from these people. But after hearing Leng Yumor's words, he immediately laughed out loud. Kill all the people of our Tian clan? Just the few of you, or the motley crew of the Starry School? Ha 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 ha, don't make me laugh to death. There were indeed many students in the starry school. However, most of them were delicate flowers in a greenhouse that had not experienced the wind and rain. Even when they fought, they were all independent and rarely cooperated with each other. As for the outer yard students, 90% of them had not even reached the fasting stage. Chapter 1744. Xiaobao's Reinforcements. 2. On the other hand, on the Tian clan's side, not to mention the hundreds of golden elixir cultivators, they could easily crush a large group of students and mentors. Even those cultivators who didn't need to eat had come from the edge of a knife, and their hands had been stained with countless lives. Their cooperation with each other was also impeccable. How could these inexperienced students contend against them? Therefore, after Mu Yang and the others said this, not just Luo Tian, Jiang Taihong, and the cultivators under the Tian clan all laughed. Even Meng Baichuan and the other starry school teachers looked worried. How was it possible to kill everyone in the Tian clan? Mentors as tough as Qi Ming had already stepped forward and shielded Mu Yang and the others behind him, telling them to quickly retreat into the crowd. Mu Yang was touched. Just as she was about to speak, she saw a spaceship land in the sky. Fatty Zheng, who had lost a lot of weight, and his lackeys walked down one by one. However, the person walking at the very front was not Zheng Little Fatty. Instead, it was a little doll who looked like a celestial child carved from jade. Seeing Mu Yang, the little baby immediately pounced over and pounced into her arms. Mu Yang touched Xiaobao's head. She did not carry him, but held his little hand. Is it done? Xiaobao just nodded and did not speak. Little Fatty Zheng's lackeys ran over excitedly and said, "Boss, it's all done. Ha ha ha, with our young master here, how could it not be done? TSK TSK TSK, the boss is the boss. It's fine if you're strong, but even your son is so awesome." Fatty Zheng walked to Mu Yang's side and whispered a few words. Mu Yang nodded and lowered her head to smile at Xiaobao. "Xiaobao, you did well." Xiaobao's exquisite and beautiful face was expressionless, but his pair of blue eyes were bright and sparkling like stars. Being able to help his mother was the happiest thing for him. When the spaceship started to descend, Luo Tian was still a little surprised. When he saw the baby and Fatty Zheng's group, he immediately showed a look of disdain. "Luo Tian, Zhun Muyan, don't tell me that you think that you can contend against my Tian family with these several wastes. Ha 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 ha, don't make me laugh my head off. Why don't you take a look at how many people my Tian army has? You want to kill all of us? Unless you immediately summon a few thousand people. In that case, there might still be a sliver of hope for victory. Ha ha ha." Just as Luo Tian's laughter faded, he heard his subordinate exclaim, "What? What is that?" Luo Tian's complacent mood was interrupted, and he glanced at his subordinate with displeasure. However, she still followed the direction of his hand and looked towards the sky. However, when he took a closer look, his eyes widened and his face was filled with shock. In the sky, a dense group of spaceships was flying towards the school of the Emperor Star. Before Luo Tian and the others could react, the flying ship had already arrived above the school of the Emperor Star. It was descending slowly. The leading spaceship was extremely large, and it was decorated with jewels and pearls, looking extremely gorgeous. In the middle of the ship, there was a large, glittering word, Zhu. This was the ship of the richest man in the azure blue realm, Zhu Fuguei. But why would Zhu Fuguei's spaceship come here? Moreover, why would there be so many spaceships? What do they want? Luo Yu swallowed. "Sixth sister, are these the reinforcements that you asked Xiaobao to bring?" Chapter 1745. Did they come to repay a debt of gratitude? 1. Where did this come from? Isn't this a bit too many ships? If there are hundreds of people on each ship, then the total number of people on these ships is no less than the Tian family. But where did Mu Yang find so many reinforcements? The people of the Xiao Yarrow sect all look at Mu Yang. However, Mu Yang's expression is even more shocked than they are. She looks at Xiaobao and Fatty Zheng. Xiaobao and Fatty Zheng both shake their heads. "No, the people we arranged haven't come yet." This time, the people of the Xiao Yarrow sect are dumbfounded. If it's not Mu Yang's people, then who are on these ships? Could it be the Tian family's helpers? Thinking of this, Yun Ruohan and the others' faces become extremely serious. Even if it's only the Tian family, they will have to pay a heavy price to break out of the encirclement. If there are double the number of people, then today, the people in the Taiyi Square are full of bewilderment, guessing who the people on these ships are, and why they came. At this time, the largest luxurious ship's protective cover slowly opens, and a grey-haired but spirited old man slowly walks down from it. Behind him, there are more than 10 practitioners dressed in brown uniforms. As soon as Luo Tian sees this old man, he frowns, and the bewilderment in his eyes deepens. When the old man comes in front of him, he immediately asks bluntly, "Housekeeper Zhu, what are you doing? My Tian family is in the middle of a proper business, and you came here with such a large force. Do you want a piece of the pie?" Housekeeper Zhu strokes his beard and chuckles. "Lord Luo must be joking. My Zhu family is not interested in the shady business that your Tian family is doing, so why would I want a piece of the pie?" This is clearly looking down on the Tian family's unscrupulous methods. Luo Tian is furious, but he can't help but sigh in relief when he hears that the old man won't interfere. "Since you're not going to get a piece of the pie, what's the meaning of Housekeeper Zhu bringing so many ships here?" "Housekeeper Zhu, Lord Luo might not know, but our family's master has just reunited with his granddaughter who has been missing for many years." As he speaks, there's a mournful expression on his face. "Our family's miss has been wandering in the Yenwu continent all these years, suffering a lot in that barren land without spiritual energy. But thanks to a kind-hearted person who took her in and taught her, improving her strength, she had the opportunity to ascend to the cultivation continent and become a member of our master's group." Luo Tian frowned and said impatiently, "What does old Master Zhu recognizing his granddaughter have to do with you coming here to obstruct my Tian family?" Steward Zhu smiled like a Maitreya Buddha and continued to speak slowly. "Don't be anxious, Lord Luo. I haven't finished speaking yet. The person who saved my young mistress in the Yenwu continent is now in the Starry School. Our young miss is here to thank her benefactor." Luo Tian said angrily, "Is there a need to bring so many people to thank our benefactor? You've brought all of the Zhu family's subordinates here, right?" Steward Zhu said, "Haha, Lord Luo is mistaken. These people aren't from our Zhu family. Instead, he came with our young miss." "What do you mean by coming with your young miss? Who were these people? Tell me clearly." Luo Tian wanted to stop them, but as soon as he moved, he was stopped by the 2 golden core experts beside Steward Zhu. Without waiting for Luo Tian to get angry, Steward Zhu brought the cultivators behind him and strode towards Muyan and the others. Chapter 1746. Here to repay a debt of gratitude. 2. But when he passed by Meng Baichuan, he suddenly stopped in his tracks. "Chief Meng, I heard that the Starry School can't even buy any pills or treasures in the Azure Blue world and can't trade with other shops." Meng Baichuan lowered his head in shame. "It's my fault as the chief. But even if I have to go bankrupt, I won't let the school be like this forever." Before he could finish, Housekeeper Zhu had already interrupted him. "How about this? From now on, all the pills, talismans, treasures, spiritual herbs, and beast cores of the Starry School will be sold to you at 50% off in our shop." What? Meng Baichuan was dumbfounded. Housekeeper Zhu continued, "We will also buy all the treasures that the Starry School sells at market price. If the Starry School students don't have a place to train, the Zhu clan has a secret plane in the Azure Blue world that we can open to you." This time, not just Meng Baichuan, but all the teachers and students in Taiyi Square were dumbfounded. Was this a joke? Was the Zhu clan going to take all the expenses of the Starry School? That's right, as the richest family in the Azure Blue world, the Zhu clan indeed had the ability to do so. But the Zhu clan was not related to the Starry School at all. Why would they work so hard to help them? Luo Tian, on the other hand, was furious. "Old Zhu, how dare you? Isn't your Zhu clan clearly going against my Tian clan by doing this?" Housekeeper Zhu laughed, still smiling like a Maitreya Buddha. "How can that be? These are all the dowry that our master told us to give to the young lady. How the young lady likes to use them is her business. Meng Baichuan stuttered. Why is the Zhu clan helping the Starry School? Housekeeper Zhu replied, of course it's because our young lady's savior is in the school. Luo Tian leaped forward and shouted angrily, who is the savior of your family's young miss? Tell me. Let's see how you repay me after I kill him. Housekeeper Zhu ignored Luo Tian and continued to lead the group forward. He walked to Mu Yang and bowed deeply. When he raised his head, his eyes were already a little wet. Miss Jun, thank you for your great kindness to my Zhu family. Mu Yang frowns, her face full of suspicion. Master Zhu has already thanked me for saving Zhu Kuanyong. No, it's not our young master, it's our young miss. Steward Zhu exclaimed excitedly, Miss Jun, not only did you save our young master, even our master's long-lost granddaughter was found because of you. Mu Yang is even more confused. Your miss. But I don't know your young miss. Her words had just left her mouth when suddenly, a sobbing female voice rang out from behind Steward Zhu. Miss, we finally found you. Hearing this voice, Mu Yang suddenly opened his eyes wide, almost not daring to believe his ears. Then, Steward Zhu slowly moved to the side, revealing a delicate and pretty girl standing behind him. The girl was dressed in white, and her eyes were lively. When she walked leisurely, she looked like a dancing snow goose. But at this moment, this smart and lively girl walked step by step towards Mu Yang with tears in her eyes. When she slowly knelt down towards Mu Yang, she finally could not hold back her tears and said, Snow Goose of the Netherfire Army, greets the young miss. Chapter 1747. The Nether Flame Army pays respect to the miss, pays respect to the little master. 1. Muyan's heart violently beats uncontrollably. She feels as if a clap of thunder has exploded in her head, leaving only a buzzing vibration. Her head is in a mess, and everything in front of her has become blurry. She almost wonders if everything that is happening at this moment is a dream or reality. Why are you here? After a long time, she finds her voice. Where are the other people of the Nether Flame Army? Almost as soon as she finishes her sentence, densely packed people begin to pour out from the spaceships that are parked around them. Every one of them is wearing the same clothes. The red lines on the black background are like a raging fire burning in the night, illuminating the light that leads to hope for people. There are clearly thousands of people coming down from the spaceships. But their ranks are lined up neatly, without a trace of disorder, and have a tacit understanding. But the expression on everyone's face is one of uncontrollable excitement, and tears. A few of them have already burst into tears the moment they jump off the spaceship and see Muyan. The thousands of people quickly divide into 4 lines. The 4 people at the front, 2 men and 2 women, have familiar faces, just like in the past. Shui Yang also returns to her position with tears in her eyes. Soon after, thousands of people kneel down towards Muyan. The Ink Camp of the Nether Flame Army pays respect to the miss, pays respect to the little master. The Great Void Camp of the Nether Flame Army pays respect to the miss, pays respect to the little master. The Tianji Camp of the Nether Flame Army pays respect to the miss, pays respect to the little master. The commander of the Nether Flame Army pays respect to the miss, pays respect to the little master. 2,000 people shout in unison, shaking the heavens and the earth, resounding through the sky. Muyan stares at this scene in a daze, her eyes a little moist and warm. For a moment, she can't say a word. Suddenly, her hand is gently pinched, and Xiao Bao's choked voice, which he tries his best to suppress, comes to her ears. Nyang Qin, they're back. Yes, her Nether Flame Army, her close relatives and friends have returned to her and Xiao Bao's side. Muyan tries her best to suppress the excitement in her heart, and hoarsely says, all of you, get up. Hualala. With just one command, the 2,000 people seemed to have a telepathic connection. They all stood up in unison and stood perfectly straight on the spot. However, their gazes were fixated on Mu Yang and Xiao Bao. Her eyes reddened, and tears flowed down uncontrollably. 1 year. It had been more than a year. They crazily cultivate in the Yenwu continent, improving themselves day and night, just so that they can catch up with the miss, and reunite with the Miss and the Little Master in the Xiuzhen continent. Now, they had finally seen the young Miss that they had been longing for. Their Nether Flame army finally had a backbone again. Yang Haotian takes a deep breath, taking a step forward, he gestures with his hand and lips. The commander of the Ink Camp, Yang Haotian, greets Miss 697 people from the Ink Camp have ascended, 697 people are present, willing to obey Mrs. Command. Bai Ichen stepped forward, Great Void Battalion Commander Bai Ichen greets Miss. 523 people from the Grand Void Camp have ascended. Now, 523 people are here. We are willing to follow Mrs. orders. Yu Yang's face was covered in tears, but she still suppressed her sobs and said loudly, Heaven's Secret Battalion Commander Yu Yang greets Miss. 395 men from the Tianji Battalion have ascended, and there are 395 men in total. They are willing to obey Mrs. orders. Feng Haitang, Everlasting Battalion Commander Feng Haitang greets Miss. 357 men from the Everlasting Battalion have ascended, and there are 357 men in total. They are willing to obey Mrs. orders. Chapter 1748. The Nether Flame Army pays respect to the Miss, pays respect to the Little Master, too. After the 4 people finish reporting, thousands of people suddenly shout in unison again. 1,972 people of the Nether Flame Army have all arrived. From now on, we are willing to obey the Miss's command, vow to follow and never betray. Vow to follow and never betray. Vow to follow and never betray. One after another, the heaven-shaking shouts are not slogans, nor declarations, but their unwavering vow. After going through trials and tribulations, they finally found their master and their young Miss. From this moment on, the Nether Flame Army has been revived. From now on, the invincible, fearless, and unstoppable legendary military soul will return to the world. 6. Sixth Sister. Who are these people? Luo Yu finally comes back to his senses with great difficulty and stutters as he asks. He was really stunned by the shocking scene just now. Although he has always known that his 6th sister is powerful. But seeing 2,000 people uniformly kneel before her, that kind of shock can't be described with words. Muyan says hoarsely, they are people I know in Yanwu continent. Like you, they are my most important family in this world. Luo Yu and the others initially see Muyan crying as she looks at these people, and their hearts are still a little sour. They always feel that their little junior sister, 6th sister, is going to be taken away. But hearing Muyan say this now, they are immediately overjoyed, no longer jealous. And the Nether Flame Army, who were originally solemnly lined up, after hearing Muyan's words, their tears flow even more fiercely. Many people can't help but throw themselves at them. Boo-hoo-hoo, Master, Little Senior, I miss you so much. For example, Muyan's cheap disciple Lu Beiyu. Xiao Bao looks at Lu Beiyu, who is crying with snot and tears, in disgust. But when he pounces over, he still lets him hug him. Boo-hoo-hoo, Little Senior, I really thought I wouldn't be able to see you. You don't know how hard it has been for more than a year. Muyan sees a tall and handsome youth walking towards her from the crowd, and the Nether Flame Army makes way for him. Shun Jinglin's eyes are red, looking at the increasingly beautiful girl, and he can't help but choke with sobs. Yang, you and Xiao Bao have grown up. Brother. Muyan's nose is sour, she wants to hold back her tears, but she still can't stop them from falling. Big brother, I miss you so much. Those relatives who were left behind in the Yanwu continent, Muyan had also longed to reunite with them, but she always felt that it was so far away. Back then, she had left behind 1,000 spirit molding pills and thousands of spirit raising pills for the Nether Flame Army. Originally, he thought that even if they could ascend, it would be impossible for there to be so many of them. Originally, he thought that it would be at least a few years before they could meet again. 2. 5 Junior, 5, and Nether Flame Army. The Nether Fire Army ran to catch up with Mu Yang and Xiao Bao. The moment that imposing manner that could shake the mountains and rivers disappeared, everyone in the Taiyi Plaza who was dumbfounded from shock finally recovered. Luo Tian, Luo Kan Luo Tian Luo Lun, He thought that it would be easy to take away Mu Yang and the people of Yaoguang branch. However, he didn't expect that there would be a mishap along the way. Leng Yumo glanced at Luo Tian and could not help but burst out laughing. What did that Tian or Luo guy say? Junior, if you master, Tian Junior, Tian 2, you, I 2. Chapter 1749. Ha ha ha, you see, isn't my junior sister making people appear for you now? Luo Tian glares at Muyan, gnashing his teeth. So what if I make these people appear? Do these people have the qualifications to contend against my Tian army? Ha ha ha, don't make me laugh to death. Look at the configuration of your Nether Flame army, more than half of them are at the first or second stage of abstinence, and the remaining 30% haven't even reached abstinence, just a group of body-forging waste. As he speaks, Luo Tian suddenly lets out a carefree and contemptuous laugh. Muyan, do you really think that you can win with more people? To deal with this group of wastes, my Tian family doesn't even need a core formation cultivator to crush you all. Hearing that, the Nether Flame army reveals an angry expression. But no one refutes or speaks, instead, they uniformly look at Muyan. Muyan wipes away the tears on her face, the corners of her mouth slowly hooking up into a lazy arc. Nether Flame army, heed my order. Yes. Since someone wants to experience the strength of our Nether Flame army, then let's fulfill their wish. As soon as her voice falls, her figure has already floated up, landing on the top of the hall closest to Tai Square. The Tian Mo Qin appears in her hands. Slender, jade-like fingers are placed on the strings, slowly plucking. The sound of the qin is melodious. Graceful feather activates. In a split second, a familiar feeling surges in the hearts of every Nether Flame army member. It's like an inexhaustible power has been injected into their bodies. Their spiritual power, their divine sense, their movements, their strength, all seem to have been raised by a level. The Tianji unit and the Changsheng unit quickly retreat. The Ink Camp and the Taishu unit quickly move forward, standing in front of the Tian army. In the Nether Flame army, not everyone is a combatant. The Ink Camp and the Taishu unit are responsible for fighting. The Tianji unit is responsible for intelligence. The Changsheng unit is responsible for logistics. Luo Tian sees that there are only 1,000 or so opponents left, and he convulses with laughter. Ha ha ha, you are a group of wastes, your strength is lower than my Tian army, and your number is half of my Tian army, do you still expect to win? The Tian family practitioners behind him also burst into laughter. The outcome of this battle was obvious. There was no suspense at all. Luo Tian's malicious gaze sweeps over Muyan above the hall, loudly mocking, Jun Muyan, I heard that you are the strongest support in the history of Azure Blue Realm. However, even if it's you, it's impossible for a bunch of trash to contend against my Tian clan. We'll only know who's the trash after we fight. Muyan plucked the strings faster and faster, and the sound became more and more urgent. But her posture and expression became more and more languid and indifferent. Then, he heard her call softly, Jun Morchen. Mu Yang rarely calls out Xiao Bao's full name. When she said the name, the people of the Xiao Yarrow sect couldn't react for a moment. Not to mention the Starry School students, they did not even know who Mu Yang was calling. However, no matter if it was Little Bao or the members of the Nether Flame army, they immediately straightened their backs when they heard this name while their gazes burned, and all of them seemed like ferocious beasts that were accumulating strength and waiting to attack. The Bixie sword in Xiao Bao's body was unsheathed, and with a leap, he had already arrived in front of the Nether Flame army. Seeing this, Luo Tian was stunned for a moment, then he laughed so hard that he covered his stomach. Ha ha ha, Jun Muyan, you can't be thinking that adding one more child can change anything, right? It's still a small explosive joke, isn't it awesome? The appearance of the Nether Flame army makes me feel like I'm on fire, but this is just a small climax, it will definitely slowly and thoroughly slap that toad's face. Monthly votes, only monthly votes can cure RZ's body of staying up late to write every day. Love you guys, moi tilde. Chapter 1750. Ha ha ha. I'm dying of laughter. Any random person from my Tian family army can crush a brat like him to death. Many of the Starry School's teachers and students also looked worried. Someone even shouted at Mu Yang, asking her to call Xiaobao back from the battlefield. They were willing to fight with the Netherfire army. However, the response she got was Mu Yan's melodious smile, but her voice was resolute and without a reply. The Netherfire army needs a commander to become a real army and defeat powerful enemies. And Jun Morchen is the only commander of the Netherfire army. So, of course he can't come back, let alone retreat. Luo Tian laughed even louder. A 5-year-old kid as the commander, what kind of rubbish army is this? Is it the baby army? Ha ha ha. The cultivators in the Tian army looked at each other and laughed. Their faces were relaxed, without any nervousness or fear of the upcoming battle. The people from the Starry School wanted to persuade her, but found that Mu Yang's expression was so determined. The expressions of the Netherfire army were even more determined than Mu Yang. Their gazes landed on the small figure in front of them. There was not the slightest bit of doubt, not the slightest bit of contempt, only worship and trust. In the entire Tai Square, perhaps only the people from the Xiaoyaro school knew why. That their nephew was a 5-year-old kid. That their nephew was not qualified to lead the army. Ha ha ha. Just wait for the slap in the face. After laughing, Luo Tian suddenly revealed a sinister expression and waved his hand in the air. Everyone, attack. Crush these so-called Netherfire army soldiers one by one. Haha, I remember Patriarch said that our plans in the Azure Cloud world were obstructed by this group of fellows, and that's why we failed at the last step. Today is the time for you to make a contribution. As long as you kill all these guys, the leader will definitely reward you handsomely when we return. Kill them all. Kill them all. Kill them all. The Tian army shouted in unison, then took out their weapons and attacked the people from the Taishu camp and the Ink camp. Luo Tian leisurely sits on a chair brought over by his subordinate. He raises his head to look at the ceiling of the hall. Jun Muyan, if you still have a little brain, then take your son back as soon as possible, then kneel down and kowtow to beg for mercy. Otherwise, don't blame me for being ruthless if I hurt your precious son. Before he could finish, a scream came from the crowd. There was also the sound of flesh being cut open. And this cry was clearly coming from his side. Luo Tian looked over in shock, only to see a sword flash past through Lord Tian's body. In the blink of an eye, it had sliced through the throats of 5 Enidia cultivators, causing blood to splatter everywhere. The battle cries in the center of Tai Square shook the sky. But the surrounding people were all speechless, completely dumbfounded. Oh my god. Was this a fucking 5-year-old? Was this the combat power a 5-year-old should have? Although he already knew that Jun Muyan's son wasn't simple during the 3-courtyard tournament. Otherwise, it would be impossible for the princes of the Lan clan empire and the successors of the 5 great clans to hold him in such high esteem. However, in the hearts of the crowd, no matter how powerful he was still just a 5-year-old child. How powerful could he be? However, at this very moment, everything that was happening before their eyes had completely overturned their imaginations. Is this a fucking baby? Chapter 1751. This is clearly a super expert with the strength of a gold core stage R. Luo Tian suddenly sprang up from his chair, shouting in alarm and anger, split half of the people to deal with that little doll, kill him for me. Right. Even if that little doll is more powerful, facing the siege of nearly 1,000 fasting stage cultivators, could he still escape unscathed? As for that Nether Flame army, they are just a motley crew, a bunch of trash. The remaining Tian family army is more than enough to deal with them. Luo Tian's calculations are very good. But he doesn't know that at this time, the Tian family army on the battlefield is suffering unspeakably. Because they don't know when it started, they only feel that their hands and feet are getting heavier and heavier, and the circulation of spiritual power is getting more and more sluggish. But their opponents are the complete opposite of them. Although these people's cultivation isn't high, everyone's cooperation is extremely tacit. In this ever-changing, cruel and bloody battlefield, they can actually leave their backs to their companions without the slightest hesitation. This is absolutely impossible for the selfish and greedy Tian family army, who are only good at burning, killing, and plundering to seize immediate benefits. Moreover, it is reasonable to say that these nether flame army in front of them are only at the first or second stage of fasting stage, and there is even a small portion of them who are trash at the body forging stage. With such a low cultivation, the spiritual chi in their bodies should be extremely scarce. In such an intense battle, they simply can't hold on for long. But what's strange is that after fighting for so long, the strength of these nether flame army hasn't decreased in the slightest. Their spiritual power seemed to be endless and would never dry up. On the contrary, their bodies are getting heavier and heavier, and the circulation of spiritual power is getting more and more difficult. Their physical strength and Dantian's spiritual chi are madly consumed, and right now, they only feel that the battle is getting more and more difficult. Every Tian family army's face is filled with astonishment. At first, they didn't understand how a group of trash whose cultivation should be so much lower than theirs could actually gradually make them unable to fight back. Until they suddenly look up and see Jun Muyan on the distant roof. It's the sound of a zither. It's the musical assistants. Luo Tian unwaveringly raises his head to stare at the girl on the roof of the hall, simply unable to believe what's happening in front of him. The originally melodious zither sound has now turned into the sound of a powerful army, swallowing mountains and rivers. And when these zither sounds fall into Luo Tian's ears, it's like a death knell, making his heart sink little by little, and making the blood of his entire body turn ice cold. This was Azure Blue Realm's #1 support. How could the support of a musician be so powerful? On the other side, Xiaobao, who was being besieged by nearly 1,000 people, was completely at ease. No matter how high his cultivation was, it was impossible for him to deal with so many high-level Enidia cultivators. But the problem was that he could use Sword Kinnes's flight. Seeing that the situation was not good, the Bixia sword carried its little master and soared into the sky, hovering high in the air. The Tian family army below was instantly dumbfounded. They couldn't fly on swords, and they didn't have any flying magic treasures. A normal person wouldn't be able to jump so high and let the attack land on Xiaobao. However, when they turned around and wanted to give up on Xiaobao to deal with the Nether Flame army, the Bixia sword once again whistled as it charged down. There was a flash of saber light and sword shadows. 5 or 6 screams rang out and blood splattered everywhere. After going back and forth like this a few times, the Tian family army was all trembling in fear. Facing this one and only opponent, they actually cowered together, not daring to move at all. Chapter 1752. A great battle came to an end in an unimaginable manner. Luo Tian's knees went soft and he stumbled towards the chair behind him. But because he was too flustered, he fell on his butt. More than 2,000 Tian family army soldiers were lying in a pool of blood. Some were unconscious, and some were tied up. In just a short 2 hours, they had all lost their ability to fight. The Starry School students were all dumbfounded at the scene. When Mu Yang floated down from the palace and landed on the ground, she held Xiaobao's hand. Thousands of Netherfire army soldiers lined up on both sides, as if they were welcoming their queen and highness, watching her walk over slowly. Everyone's eyes were filled with envy, respect, worship, and madness. It was like a raging fire was about to burn. This was their Azure Blue World's #1 assistant, Jun Mu Yang. This was their Starry School's greatest pride, a monstrous king. To be able to be in the same generation and become classmates with such a person, they might be jealous and envious, but it was more like a legend that they could boast about for the rest of their lives. Seeing Jun Mu Yang walking towards him, fear and panic flashed across Luo Tian's face. He crawled up from the ground on all fours and shouted fiercely, Jun Mu Yang, what do you want to do? Do you think that your Netherfire army can sleep peacefully after defeating my Tian family army? Don't forget, our Tian family still has hundreds of golden essence cultivators. Yes. He still had hundreds of golden essence cultivators by his side. The power of each golden essence cultivator was not something a group of fasting cultivators could compare to. Even though there were many golden essence cultivators in Starry School, many of them specialized in alchemy and talismans. What about the Tian family's golden essence cultivators? They were all elites that the family leader had recruited from all over the world. Every one of them was a main attacker. There were even quite a few who were once well-known figures before they were recruited by the Tian clan through threats and promises. He, Luo Tian, had so many golden essence cultivators in his hands, why would he be afraid of Jun Mu Yang? Thinking of this, Luo Tian straightened his back. He sneered at Mu Yang. Jun Mu Yang, your Netherfire army is so arrogant, do you have the guts to fight the Tian family's golden essence leaders? Mu Yang unhurriedly says, I wouldn't dare. I really don't want to fight with these golden core leaders of your Tian family. Ha ha ha. You finally know fear? Luo Tian looked up to the sky and laughed out loud. His forehead was still dripping with cold sweat from fear. At this moment, his entire horseface was twisted sinisterly, but it's too late to be afraid now. All of you, attack. Kill all the Netherfire army members. Whoever kills the most will be heavily rewarded when we return. However, when Luo Tian gave the order, he found that most of the golden core cultivators behind him did not move. Are you deaf? Did you not hear my order? Or have you all forgotten what you have in the hands of the patriarch? Luo Tian roared furiously at the people behind him. However, he discovered that most of the golden core commanders were staring at a spaceship that had landed in the corner of Tai Square. The first to step down from the ship was Zheng Little Fatty's brother, Zhang Jiaming. Behind him, there were many servants of the Zheng clan supporting the elderly, the frail, and the young as they walked down the stairs. Seeing these people, the Tian family's golden essence commanders all had tears in their eyes. They completely forgot where they were and directly pounced forward. Chapter 1753. Mother, why are you here? Sob sob sob, husband, we finally get to see you again. Lina, why are you here? Tian Heibo, why is he willing to let you out? The reunited family members hugged each other and cried, chattering non-stop. Seeing this scene, Luo Tian was so scared that his soul almost flew out of his body. Aren't these the family members of the Golden Essence Realm commanders? Why are they here? Most of the talents that Tian Heibo recruited were not willing to submit to the Tian clan, but their families were forcefully destroyed and their sects declined. In order to keep these talents by his side, Tian Heibo obviously had to take advantage of their weaknesses and coerce them. And the family members of these Golden Essence Realm commanders were Tian Heibo's biggest bargaining chip. Most of them had been given a slow poison that had to be taken regularly. They were also locked in a hidden place by the Tian clan, and were only allowed to meet the Golden Essence Realm commanders 2 or 3 times a year. Once the Golden Essence Realm commanders had the intention to rebel, their families would definitely be the first to suffer. Did these Golden Essence Realm commanders not hate the Tian clan and Tian Heibo? They definitely hated them, so much that they wanted to skin them alive and split their stocks. However, the most important people were in the hands of the other party, so they could not resist at all. But now, the family members of these Golden Essence Realm commanders had actually appeared in the Starry School. Why was this happening? Facing the anxious and confused gazes of the Golden Essence Realm commanders, Zheng Jiaming smiled and said, "We have to thank Miss Jun for this. She was the one who asked us to save your family members." Jun Muyin, you bitch. Luo Tian suddenly roared. So what if you brought these people out? Without the antidote of the Tian clan, these old and weak people will sooner or later die miserably from the effects of the poison. Ha ha ha, do you think that this will make the Golden Essence Realm commanders of the Tian clan rebel? Dream on. Saying that, he fiercely glared at the Gold Core Realm commanders, immediately deal with the Nether Flame army and capture Jun Muyin. Otherwise, you can only watch helplessly as your loved ones die from poison. The Golden Core commander's eyes were filled with tears and resentment. However, looking at his own family, he could only abandon the conscience and hatred at the bottom of his heart, and pull out his blade towards Mu Yang and the others. Zheng Little Fatty sneered, "If I were you, I would first check if the poison in my family has been cured." That's right, a bunch of idiots. Since our boss asked us to bring him out, how could he not have thought of this? It's just a little poison. It's nothing to our boss. Our boss had already removed it long ago. The Golden Corps commanders were taken aback for a moment before they abruptly turned to look at their relatives. One of them, a burly man who looked to be in his early 30s but had already reached the peak of Gold Corps stage, grabbed his old mother's hand and rolled up her sleeves. On her mother's skinny arm, the red line that had been jumping up and down had disappeared. The poison was really cured. The tall and sturdy man burst into tears. Mother, are you all right? The old woman's tears also streamed down her face. Chang-Jen, I'm fine. It's that little kid who's as pretty as a celestial child that cured me. Chapter 1754. As soon as she swallowed that tiny elixir, she felt that her throat was being strangled, and the feeling of dying at any time disappeared. Sure enough, the red thread that was slowly extending on her arm also slowly retreated. That inhumanly beautiful little baby had a cold face, didn't like to talk, didn't like to smile. However, the action of feeding her the medicine was very gentle. At first glance, one could tell that he was a very kind and good child. Later, the little boy stuck a few talismans on her body. As the talismans burned, she felt that her originally withered body seemed to have been injected with vitality, and a bit of vitality slowly emerged. Chang-Jen. The old woman grabbed her son Li Chang'en's hand and said over and over again, Chang-Jen, we can't help the Avildor anymore, it's an utterly heartless thing. Otherwise, after mother dies, I won't have the face to meet the Li family's ancestors. Li Chang-Jen choked with sobs as he nodded, Mother, I know, I will never help that beast Qian Heibo to do anything again. That little baby and Miss Jun's great kindness to us, we must repay it. The old woman continued to prattle on, in the future, you must follow them to do good deeds and redeem the sins of the first half of your life. Okay, I'll listen to Mother. This kind of dialogue was carried out by almost every Jindan commander who saw their loved ones. Soon after, they uniformly came before Mu Yang and Xiao Bao, and one by one, they knelt down. Miss Jun's great kindness, we have no way to repay it. We only hope that we can join the Nether Flame Army for the next half of our lives, and serve Miss Jun to repay your kindness. We also ask Miss Jun to give us a chance, and let us repay the sins we owe. In the process of these Jindan commanders' loyalty to the Tian family, because of Qian Heibo's threat, they had also committed many sins. Each of their hands was stained with the blood of innocent people. Such a sin was not something that could be made up for by saying that it was out of his control. Mu Yang touched Xiao Bao's head, and said warmly, Nether Flame Army's commander, what do you say? Xiao Bao's little face was stiff, his icy blue eyes swept over the 100 Jindan cultivators present, and he said coldly in his crisp, childish voice, if you want to join the Nether Flame Army, you can, but you can only start from the lowest rank of soldiers. From now on, no matter what you do, you must listen to the orders of the 4th Battalion leader. Anyone who thinks too highly of themselves and refuses to be disciplined will be punished. From now on, whoever dares to help the evil do evil and kill the innocent will be executed. Those who dare to betray the Nether Flame Army at the sight of profit will be executed. He was clearly just a 5-year-old child, but when the word punish came out of his mouth, it was like a thunderclap that struck the heads of every Golden Corps cultivator. It was deafening. They trembled as they met Xiao Bao's icy blue eyes, but they felt that the one looking at them was not a little child, but a high and mighty god. He could see through them from the inside out, and he could control their life and death at any time. This was the commander-in-chief of the Nether Flame Army. At this moment, they had completely forgotten that the person in front of them was a child. They only wanted to prostrate themselves before him. Of course, there were also those who had gradually abandoned their conscience in the slaughter and plunder. They had originally begged to join the Nether Flame Army just to get some benefits. Chapter 1755. But now that they've been intimidated by Xiao Bao's 3 executions, they're scared witless, and they promptly retreat from the crowd. There's also a portion of people who don't want to continue doing evil, But they're also unwilling to give up their core formation cultivator's dignity to give in to a little fasting brat, so they also silently retreat. In the end, there are only 24 core formation cultivators who remain. But this time, everyone who remains has clear eyes and resolute expressions. In their eyes, there's remorse, rejoicing, determination, and also infinite hope for the future. They not only sincerely want to repay the debt of gratitude and redeem their sins. It's also because in the battle just now, they've seen the formidable strength of the Nether Flame army. Perhaps, just by looking at cultivation and personnel, the Nether Flame army is just an ordinary army. But when Jun Muyin and Jun Morchen join this army, it will become a completely different and frightening powerhouse. Perhaps one day in the future, this army will shock the entire Xiozhen continent. And they want to become one of them before that. Xiao Bao looks at them for a while. After confirming that their will is unwavering and that there's no flicker in the depths of their eyes, he separately assigns them to the 4 battalions of the Nether Flame army, under the command of Yang Haotian, Bai Ichen, Feng Haitang, and Yu Yang. Yang Haotian and the other 3 accept the core formation cultivators as subordinates. There's no trace of timidity on their faces, but each and every one of them is nervous. With such powerful subordinates, they have to work harder and become stronger as soon as possible, so that they can shoulder the responsibility of a battalion commander and live up to the expectations of the Miss and the Little Master. Luo Tian sees that the Tian family's core formation commanders have defected one after another, and some even directly rely on Jun Muyin. For a moment, he's so angry that he almost faints. Rebel, all rebel. Luo Tian screams loudly, have you all forgotten how formidable and powerful the Lord is? Daring to betray the Lord, have you ever thought about what will happen to you? It's fine if he doesn't speak. The core formation commanders are immersed in joy and sadness, forgetting his existence for a moment. But as soon as he speaks, the hateful gazes of all the core formation commanders are fixed on him. Luo Tian's voice stops abruptly, beads of sweat the size of beans dripping down from his forehead. Meeting the core formation commander's devouring gazes, he retreats in horror. What do you want? I'm warning you, don't act recklessly, otherwise the Patriarch will never let you off. Then, the eyes of these Golden Core commanders who had been oppressed for a long time had already turned red. They didn't care what he said at all. They all rushed forward and beat up Luo Tian and Tian Heibo's trusted subordinates as if they were venting their anger. Shrill screams could be heard from time to time, accompanied by the splashing of blood and the cracking of flesh and bones. The students on Tai Square couldn't help but shrink their necks. They felt as if their bones were hurting as well. After a quarter of an hour, the Golden Core cultivator finally finished venting and retreated with red eyes. The leader, Li Zhongzhen, carried Luo Tian, who was covered in blood and on the verge of death. He throws Luo Tian in front of Mu Yang and Xiao Bao, his Tian Heibo's biggest lackey, Miss and Little Master, please deal with him. Luo Tian faintly opens his blood-stained eyes and glares unwaveringly at Jun Muyin. You can't kill me. I am the Patriarch's trusted aide, and my sister is the Patriarch's most beloved concubine. Killing me is equivalent to declaring war on the Tian family. Chapter 1756. Phut, do you think we're afraid of the Tian clan? Leng Yumor sneered. Even if that old dog Tian Heibo is here, we'll still beat him up. Luo Tian was not angry but laughed instead. Ha ha, cough cough. Ha ha ha, you lowly idiots, don't you know what the Tian clan represents? The Tian family isn't just the Azure Blue Realm's Tian family. In the Purple Cloud Realm, the Tian family is also an illustrious family. Our Tian family's ancestor is a Tribulation Transcendence Almighty. If you really offend the Tian clan, ha ha ha, not to mention a mere carefree team, the Netherfire army, even the entire Starry School will be annihilated. Luo Tian said, Jun Muyin, don't blame me for not reminding you. As long as you have the slightest bit of intelligence, you should obediently submit to my Tian family and offer a humble apology to our Patriarch, asking for his forgiveness. Otherwise, ha ha, everyone here will not have a good ending, and you. He pointed at the group of Gold Core commanders and gnashed his teeth, his eyes filled with hatred. All of you just wait. Once I return to the Patriarch's side, I'll definitely dismember all of you traitors into 1,000 pieces. And your family, ha ha ha, I'll let you see how I torture them to death right in front of you. The expressions of the Golden Corps commanders instantly became very unsightly. Their relatives also shed tears of fear when they recalled the days of captivity and torture. Even the Starry School teachers and students were filled with righteous indignation, but they did not dare to kill Luo Tian. Because they knew that Luo Tian was speaking the truth. The few clans were doing well in the Azure Blue world not only because they were powerful. It was also because they had a powerful backer behind them. Housekeeper Zhu frowned. Luo Tian, are you threatening our young mistress and her benefactor? Luo Tian laughed shrilly again. Zhu, I know you have a backer in the Purple Cloud Realm. But your backer is powerful only because he is respected and everyone is willing to give him face. But in terms of strength, my Tian clan's ancestor only needs one person to destroy your entire Zhu clan. So I'm warning you, if you know what's good for you, you better not speak. Because if we really offend the Tian family, even Zhu Fugue would not be able to bear the consequences. Manager Zhu's face alternated between green and white, but he didn't say anything in the end. Because in the Ziyun realm, the Zhu family's strength was indeed inferior to the Tian family. Seeing that everyone was rendered speechless by his words, Luo Tian became even more arrogant. He even forgot about the pain in his body. He imagined how he would torture these people later, how he would make them kneel in front of him and beg for mercy, and he felt a burst of joy in his heart. However, at this moment, a thunderous roar resounded in the air. I wonder if I, Nailan Qing, have the qualifications to offend your Tian clan? Luo Tian was startled. He suddenly looked up and saw a few figures descending from the sky like lightning. Seeing who it was, Luo Tian's pupils suddenly constricted, and his entire body trembled uncontrollably. Following that, shouts after shouts could be heard coming from the sky. I wonder if I, Murong Bai, have the qualifications to offend your Tian family? I wonder if I, Duan Xiangyang, am qualified to offend your Tian family? Chapter 1757. I wonder if I, Lu Zhenjing, have the right to offend the Tian clan? I wonder if I, Feng Yi, have the right to offend the Tian clan? In the blink of an eye, 5 figures had already appeared in the sky above Tai Square and slowly descended. 5 torch-like eyes stared coldly at Luo Tian, their eyes filled with sharpness and murderous intent. Luo Tian's entire body trembled. Suddenly, he felt his crotch heat up, and a yellow liquid slowly flowed out from between his legs. At this moment, there was only one word in his mind: I'm done for. Nailan Qing and the other 4 looked at Luo Tian in disdain, then turned to Mu Yang and Xiao Bao. Before they could greet each other, the little kids in their arms jumped down one by one and ran towards Xiao Bao. Boss, we're here to see you. Boss, is someone bullying you? We're here to support you. Yes, boss, we're here to help you. Whoever dares to bully you, we'll beat him to death for you. Boss, we missed you so much. It's all Dad and Mom's fault for not letting me come to see you. Muyan and Xiao Bao are quarreling incessantly with each other. Xiao Bao frowned and said in a low voice, too noisy. As soon as the 3 concise words came out, the little fellows immediately covered their own mouths and kept quiet. They even reached out their little hands to cover the mouths of others. They wouldn't quarrel. They wanted to be the most obedient little brothers. Mu Rongbai and the rest felt very upset about the fact that their lawless little ancestor was like a little puppy in front of Xiao Bao. He might as well turn his head away. Out of sight, out of mind. Nailan Qing looked at Mu Yang and stroked his beard. Miss Jun, I didn't expect the Tian clan to be so crazy and come to Starry School to cause trouble. We didn't come earlier and scared Miss June. The crowd in Tai Square thought. Haha, I'm really sorry. We're the ones who got scared. The Miss Jun you speak of can only scare others. Mu Yang smiled. It's all right. It's quite interesting. At least the Tian clan's trouble allowed her to reunite with the Netherfire army. Just based on this point alone, she was in a really good mood. Nailan Qing coughed lightly. If Miss Jun wants to make a move against this Tian family's lackey, you don't have to worry at all. If anyone wants to pursue you because of this matter, my Nayland family will bear the responsibility. The same goes for our Murong family. The Duan clan is also willing to ensure the safety of Miss Jun and the Starry School. The corner of Mu Yang's mouth raises into a shallow arc. Really? I can deal with the Tian family at will? Nayland Qing sneered and said, relax, a mere Tian family. My Nayland family still doesn't put them in my eyes. Furthermore, the Tian family brought this upon themselves. You can deal with Tian Heibo's lackeys however you like. If Tian Heibo or the people from the Purple Cloud World's Tian family dare to ask a single question, my Murong family will let them know who is the number one family in the azure blue world. A bright and beautiful smile blossomed on Mu Yang's face, then many thanks to the patriarchs. As she spoke, she looked at Li Zhongzhen who was standing behind Yang Haotian. I'll let you do it. Li Zhonggen's eyes lit up, and then tears appeared in his eyes. His father, his sisters, and his family were all forced to their deaths by the heartless Tian clan. Now, the only family he had left in this world was his old mother. Yet for the sake of his old mother's life, he still had to work for his enemy. Chapter 1758. It was Luo Tian who had brought troops to force the Li clan. Li Zhongzhen wanted to tear Luo Tian into pieces even in his dreams. But he also knew that the Tian clan was such a powerful force that not everyone could afford to offend. He thought that he would never have the chance to take revenge with his own hands. Unexpectedly, the young mistress had given him the task of killing Luo Tian. Li Zhongzhen walked towards Luo Tian step by step, a blood-stained long sword in his hand. Luo Tian placed his hands on the ground, shaking his head as he retreated desperately. His face was covered in snot and tears as he begged for mercy. No, don't kill me. I can give you all my treasures. I'm willing to do anything for you. Please don't kill me, don't kill me. Ah. Luo Tian raised the knife in his hand and swung it down. A head covered in blood rolled to the ground. Li Zhongzhen knelt on the ground with a thud and wailed. Father, sister, uncle, I've taken revenge for you. I've finally taken revenge for you. On Tai Square, the cries and laughter of many Golden Essence Realm commanders and their families rang out. Then, the other Golden Essence Realm commanders also picked up their swords and killed Tian Heibo's trusted subordinates one by one. The show of the Tian clan surrounding the Starry School and forcing Mu Yang and the others to submit finally came to an end. Nayland Qing and the others had originally wanted to ask Xiao Bao how he had taught their precious grandchildren to allow them to improve so quickly. But Mu Yang and Xiao Bao had just reunited with the Netherfire army and obviously had a lot to say. Nayland Qing and the others hesitated again and again, but in the end, they still suppressed all the doubts in their hearts. Under Meng Baichuan's arrangements, they stayed in the sleeping quarters of the School of the Emperor Star. Before parting, Nayland Qing and the others said to Mu Yang once again, you don't have to worry about the Tian clan. The 5 clans have already sent a letter to Tian Heibo, telling him not to cause trouble for you. If he dares to provoke the Starry School again, the 5 clans promise that we will definitely make him suffer a great loss. As for the Tian clan of the Purple Cloud World, humph, with the 5 clans' guarantee, even the ancestor of the Tian clan will not dare to act recklessly. Nayland Qing and the others also knew how powerful the Tian family was in the Azure Blue Realm, and Tian Heibo's cultivation was also extremely strong. He was at the first level of the nascent Soul Realm and was about to enter the second level. This level of cultivation was even higher than Feng Yi and Duan Xiangyang. Nayland Qing was afraid that Mu Yang and the people from the Starry School would be anxious because they had offended the Tian clan. They also wanted to be on good terms with Mu Yang and Xiao Bao, which was why they kept assuring her. Mu Yan's smile is sincere and affectionate, but her eyes are somewhat bottomless. All right, then I would like to thank the several masters once again. Devour numerous flying ships carried the people of the Xiaoyaro School and the Netherfire army back to the Alcade branch. The sudden appearance of so many people, if it was any other place, it would definitely not be able to accommodate them. But the Alcade branch was different. In the Alcade branch, even including Xiaobao, there were only 8 people at most. Countless palaces were still empty. The Nether Flame army only needed to clean up a little and they would all be able to settle down. However, no one was in a hurry to clean up their rooms. Instead, they surrounded Muyan with tears in their eyes, telling her about their experiences in the past year. In reality, just as Muyan had guessed, the reason why so many people in the Nether Flame army could ascend was because of the spirit molding pill and spirit raising pill that she had left behind. Chapter 1759. Moreover, before Mu Yang ascended, she had already taken out the spiritual vein that she had absorbed into the space and buried it in the Dark Flame Valley. With the spirit molding pill and spirit raising pill to transform their bodies, coupled with the nourishment of the spiritual vein, most of the Dark Flame army successfully reached the peak of the pre-celestial stage. They crossed the threshold and touched upon the path of body-forging cultivation. Later, when they went through the heavenly tribulation, another group of people were injured. In the end, there were 1,972 people who came to the Shozhen continent. Such a large wave of people with weak strength coming to the Shozhen continent should have been extremely eye-catching. If they were not careful, they would become the target of public criticism. But their luck was extremely good. The captain of the Great Void Battalion, Shui Yang, turned out to be the long-lost granddaughter of Zhu Fugui, the richest man in Blue World. Zhu Fugui's wife left him only a foolish son, Zhu Quanyong. Zhu Fugui had countless illegitimate children, but the one he loved the most was Zhu Quanyong, this mentally retarded son. Just because this son was the only child left by his wife. However, few people knew that Zhu Fugui's wife had actually given birth to a daughter. But because of an accident, his daughter disappeared for no reason and was never found again. Coincidentally, at that time, Steward Zhu was handling some business in Minute Lu Jie and accidentally saw the jade pendant that fell from Shui Yang. Steward Zhu had followed Zhu Fugui for many years and naturally recognized that it was the late Madame Zhu's personal item at a glance. Moreover, Shui Yang's appearance was too similar to Zhu Fugui's wife, so there was no need to doubt her identity. At that time, Steward Zhu did not make it public, but ordered the Zhu family to secretly protect Shui Yang. If she encountered any trouble, they must do their best to help, and he went back to inform Zhu Fugui. Because of the Zhu family's protection, the Dark Flame army quickly gained a foothold in Minute Lu Jie and marched into Blue Cloud World. They absorbed a lot of forces in Minute Lu Jie and also developed a lot of forces. The Celestial Secret Unit and the Longevity Unit had even secretly planted their men in the various sects. On the other side, Zhu Fugui learned that his wife had a granddaughter wandering outside. He immediately had mixed feelings and hurried to Blue Cloud World to meet Shui Yang. In this way, the Dark Flame army received the full help of the Zhu family, and the forces under them and their own strength developed rapidly. Luo Tian ridiculed that most of the Dark Flame army's cultivation was only at the first or second level of abstinence. To devour. However, he did not know that these people used less than 2 years to reach the first and second level of Enidia realm. And now, in Minute Lu World and Azure Cloud World, other than those great families and sects, the other places had already been infiltrated by the Nether Flame army. Now, in these 2 realms, when mentioning the Nether Flame army, it was no longer an unknown small faction. But even so, when the Xiao Yarrow squad was in the limelight at the Jasper Forest gathering, when Muyan's name resounded throughout the 3 realms of Kanglan, Qingyun, and Minute Lu, they still didn't hesitate to gather and rush over to pay their respects to Muyan and Xiaobao. 1,952 people, not one less. He did not regret entering the Nether Flame in this life. They had always been part of the Nether Flame army, and they would always be part of it. Miss and Little Master would forever be the leaders of the Nether Flame army. That Tian family is really too much. They actually dared to make a move against young Miss and young Master. It's a pity that we are not strong enough, otherwise we would definitely go and destroy their nest. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.